Next presentation equally is in agriculture. Today's chairman of the session is distinguished Senator Muhammad Adamu Aleru, and he had earlier made his presentation as the chairman of the session. So we are going ahead with the second presentation from a professor of international repute, Professor Abdullahi MD Magaji, whose name rings bell in the annals of the national commodity value chain. In the light of this, may I invite Professor Abdullahi MD Magaji to speak on the topic agriculture as a fundamental pillar for sustainable development of Kebbi State. He has been doing this over more than 3 decades in the academic cycle and at the national level, and even at an international level. So may I call upon Professor Magaji to formally come.
During the opening ceremony, Professor T.M. Bande summarized my paper. He said, on a quote inter alia, agriculture is not merely the backbone of our economy, it's the foundation of our peace. Bahaushe says, mai jin yunwa bai son ba'a, kada ka taba shi ta dai wuka. Professor Norman Bolo of Summit, Mexico, got the Nobel Prize for Peace because of his role in the Green Revolution, which succeeded tremendously in Asia, particularly India and Pakistan. Back home in Africa, Professor Monty Jones, Professor Leon, who was the one-time Executive Secretary of FARA, also got Africa's Prize for Peace because he was able to cross common rice. Common rice, for those of us who know, Raza Sataiba, with African rice, Raza Gabarina. Before his time, Dwarda, now African rice, scientists could not cross these 2 species. Today, it's made possible by Professor Monty Jones. That's how we have the Narikas, new rice for Africa, which was championed by one of our former presidents, President Olusegun Obasanjo. So everything about agriculture is peace. Please go to now the introduction, the contents of my lecture. Introduction: agriculture is a pillar of Kebbi State economy, cultural resources and potentials in Kebbi State, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. Yes, Kebbi State is located in the extreme northwest corner of this country. That is made clear. Next slide. Next slide. Kebbi State lies in Nigeria's extreme northwest part of the country, specifically on latitudes 10 degrees north to 13 degrees north, and longitudes 13 degrees east and 6 degrees east. And it has a population of about 4 million by estimation, and a land area of 36,800 square kilometers. It is bordered by the Niger Republic to the northwest, by Nigerian states of Sokoto, Zamfara, and Niger, and other sides. And the major rivers include Niger River, Sokoto, and their floodplains. Very important for irrigation and for fishing. And they are the ones that have made the vast land that are known for, the Podama. And that is what I'm going to be talking about most of the time. Next one. That's the population, and so on and so forth. Yes. Next slide. Yes. Now, agriculture is determined by the degrees of the weather. Therefore, it's very important to know that Kebbi is located in Sudano-Sahelian zone to the north, and northern Guinea the south, which makes it very suitable ecology for a variety of crops. The average annual rainfall also varies from place to place, but generally about 720 millimeters per annum in northern Kebbi and about 1,000 millimeters per annum in southern Kebbi, even more. The range of rainfall is 700 to 800 millimeters per year. This is very important for us because crops are located where rainfall is most abundant. So in the south we have a wide range of species that can be grown, and in the north we have limited number of species that can be grown. Next slide. The rainy season generally starts in April or late April and peaks in July. We all know that August is the rainiest period. When they say this is August, they also mean that life is difficult because rains fall incessantly in August, which is good for crops, can be bad also for crops. The length of the rainy season extends from 5 to 7 months in the south and 3 to 4 probably months in the north. Next one. Yes, there are Sahelian droughts, there are Sahelian floods. I remember in 2010, there was a big flood. And when the then president of this country came to visit Sokoto in Kebbi to see things for himself, he was wondering, how could Sahara be so watery? You know, he was surprised. This is the nature of our environment. At one time it is drought, another time it is flood. When I said to some people, the flood is also a blessing. I was surprised. Drought can be a blessing. Anybody who cultivates Burma knows that if there is no flood, there is no water in the aquifers, isn't it? For irrigation. So it is good, it's also bad. Flood also carries along with it a lot of organic material through runoff water and fertilizes a lot of land. Droughts are also common. The Sahelian drought comes usually every decade. In 1973, 74, there was drought. That was the first drought that brought people from the Republic out into this country, and also farmers from villages into the cities because there was not enough water to produce crops successfully. Next. Yes, 2010, 2018, 2010 I can't forget because I came on holidays to celebrate Salah from Abuja and there was flood. I could not cross River Rima to town, to Sokoto town, and I had to go back to Abuja through the Republic of Niger. That was very serious indeed. There was another drought in 2018, in 2020, 2024, and all those figures you see were the devastating effects of those floods. Next. Yes. Then crops grown. Now, to cut it short, there is no crop that cannot be grown in Kebbi State. The cereals, Gero millet, Moa millet, the sorghums or guinea corn, rice, napadamas, groundnuts, cowpeas, soybeans, maize or corn, it is called in some parts of the world. You name it. As well as tree crops, mango. The most important, and I want to emphasize on this later, is the potential of the date palm as a plantation crop in Sokoto in Kebbi State. Next. So Kebbi is an important cereal irrigated vegetable rice producing state. In fact, states level average yields patchy in public data. Now, let me say that a lot of crops that are grown in Nigeria is one of the leading producers. Nigeria is a leading producer in groundnuts, it's a leading producer in maize, it's a leading producer in cowpea, it's a leading producer in soybean in Africa, leading producer used to be in cocoa, leading producer on oil palm until Malaysia, Indonesia, and Sumatra came. We got the germplasm, we got the insect that pollinates the oil palm, went back home, and they tried this on a large scale, and they gave preference to R&D. And today, we are nowhere compared to Malaysia or Indonesia. Not even every cost back home. Next. Now, even though Nigeria is a leading country in a lot of species which grow, unfortunately, it's because increase in yield is due to increase in land area. So we keep cutting trees to create more land to produce crops. Elsewhere, they try to multiply the yields at the same unit land area. And this is an important problem. Look at the yields, for example. 0.7 to 1.5 for sorghum and millet. Elsewhere in India, for example, they get 2,000 to 3,000 tons per hectare. We're getting less than a ton. Look at maize, 1 to 2 tons per hectare in Nigeria. Hybrid maize can produce up to 7 tons per hectare. Stellar maize, I don't talk about it much, but stellar maize can give you 9-10 tons per hectare. Next, go ahead, rice. This is where Kebbi excels. I remember in probably 2009, there was what they call a tax meeting of agriculture. It took place in Abeokuta. That time, Professor Adeshina was the governor, was the Minister of Agriculture. And Dr. Usman, the then PAMSEC Minister of Agriculture, was full of praises from Dr. Adeshina. He said he came to Kebbi State and he saw rice coming from almost everywhere. Rice on trucks, rice on donkey backs, rice on camel backs. And the Permanent Secretary then, coming from Sokoto State, was full of praises. This is where we excel. Why? Because of the estimated 2 million hectares of farmland land throughout this country. Kebbi can be proud of 250,000 hectares. Vast potential to produce rice. At the rate of 4 tons per hectare, for example, Kebbi can produce up to 1.2 million metric tons of rice. Vast potential. Next, groundnuts. We used to be an exporter of groundnuts. We were exporting groundnuts to the UK until they discovered one time that their turkeys were suffering from a disease which they could not identify. So they traced the groundnuts they are buying from Africa, from Nigeria, Gambia, from Senegal, and eventually they discovered that the lot coming from Nigeria caused the disease. They call it X-turkey disease. X-turkey disease. They examined it, they discovered that there was aflatoxin. Aflatoxin was the main cause of the disease, and so they stopped importing groundnuts from Nigeria. So the Dala that we used to know in Kano perished. Today, even though Nigeria is a major producer of groundnuts, we need more groundnuts to produce the oil that we use in our foods. Next, onions, another potential crop. Another crop. That year, all those farmers who got loans, one capital program, those loans had to be written off because farmers could not pay. Farmers lost. Now, unfortunately, I'm a victim. Just last year, I also produced wheat, and believe me, 2 months later, I had to abandon this wheat because it was not heavy. So, big mistake repeated. There's no guarantee that this mistake will not be repeated next year. The next year, sure, we can remember, Balakura. Balakura is not only a bandit, it's onion that refused to produce the bulb. Why? Because seed was purchased from a foreign country. And this seed was not for bulb onion that you know, is for what we call spring onion. Spring onion does not produce the bulb, it's terrible bulb. Spring onion produces a very small, lengthy bulb, and then the leaves. So it's a vegetable onion. Believe me, millions of farmers, including myself, bought seedlings of Balakura and we lost. A lot of farmers lost simply because we are not careful about the most important germplasm in agriculture, that is seed. Whether it is cattle, whether it is sheep, whether it's goats, whether it is cassava or rye or wheat, seed is the most important thing. And we have to be careful about what we do about seed. Now, talking about seed has the potential. Seed has the potential to produce grain, to produce yield. Without good seed, no matter what the farmer does, he can never get good yield. That's why seed is very important. For 10 years that I was a director of plant resources, Agriculture Research Council of Nigeria, and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. I was coordinating research institutes whose mandate was to produce seed for this country. All across the country, the Child Research Institute in Maiduguri for wheat, for millet, Zaria for cowpea, for beans, for groundnuts, for cotton, for guinea corn, Ashensi Research Institute in Badegi for rice, for soybean, for sesame, for acha, in Ibadan, Nihot, for all the vegetables, and all the fruits. NIFO for oil palm, and for date palm in Dusi. Rubber Research Institute in Benin City for rubber as well as for gamma level. Cocoa Research Institute in Ibadan for cocoa, for cola nuts, for cashew, and so on and so forth. All these research institutes are supposed to produce good seed for us. There's no reason why Kebbi State should not liaise directly with these research institutes. It is the failure of us to liaise with them that has caused us big problems, and we have no guarantee the mistakes we made in the past are not going to repeat themselves. Therefore, seed is extremely important. His Excellency could remember that when we met in Kazina symposium, which was sponsored by the foundation of Sedona of Kazina, seed was central. We must take seed very seriously. Otherwise, whatever we do is a waste of resources. Let me also see this opportunity to promote date palm as our potential plantation crop. Of course, mango is very important, highly seasonal. Mango can only do in those areas where there is irrigation. That's why you find mangoes doing well when the fringes for down. It doesn't like waterlogging, it doesn't like dryness either. But date palm, which originated in Iraq and other parts of Asia, produces 2 crops in Nigeria. Only in Nigeria does date palm produce 2 crops in 1 year. Not even in Iraq, where it originated. Therefore, Nigeria has the highest potential to produce date palm. But 80% of the date, the that we eat, especially during Ramadan, is imported. It's imported from Maghreb countries, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, whereas we have the best growing conditions for date palm. Now, let me say that a lot of people don't understand date palm. Date palm produces male flowers by the male trees and female flowers, and it's cross-pollinated by insects. But those who produce date palm on a large scale don't take chances. They pollinate it using their hands or any mechanical device that they're exposed to. Now, most of us will go and buy date palm, which looks impressive to us, and then we use the seed in the hope that we get a tree that will give us the same fruit that we had several years back. Date palm does not breed true type of seed. Just like mango, there's no breed true type of seed. You see a good mango, you buy it, you plant it, it's not going to give you the same fruits that you bought in the market. No. So the same with date palm. You plant 50 seeds of date palm, you may get 50% female, 50% males. Now imagine somebody establishing a plantation of hundreds of hectares of date palm, hoping to get 90% male to produce fruits. And then he gets 50% male, 50% female. Hundreds or thousands of hectares. And this is not going to fruit until about 7-8 years. But today, there is technology called rapid multiplication. Rapid multiplication, for which we have facilities in our universities. Usman University has Center for Biotechnology. This center, with its equipment, can produce literally millions of seedlings, disease-free and true to type. Clonal material, not seed. Not seed, clonal material simply from the leaves, from growing leaves. You can get many seedlings of date palm, which you can sell to farmers. The second reliable source of seed is what you call offshoots. When you see date palm growing, producing fruits, it also has what you call suckers. Much like you find in bananas, suckers, daughter cells. If you can carefully remove these suckers, it is very difficult. If you can do so. If you plant it, you get exactly what you got from the mother tree. Now it is very important that we key into this very economic tree, which has made countries like Egypt. Egypt is by and large the largest exporter of date palm, followed by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, followed by Iraq. Nigeria had the best conditions to produce date palm. It's not Iraq, it's not Egypt, it's not Saudi Arabia, no. Because this plant, by God's grace, will produce 2 good fruits in the same year. Nowhere else on earth does date palm produce 2 crops in a year except Nigeria. And yet, Nigeria is the next importer of date palm. This is very serious indeed. And lastly, I want to talk about a very important issue flagged by our former Governor Mahmoud Aliru. He talked about farmer-herder conflict. It's a very big predicament. His Excellency also mentioned the same. Farmer-herder conflict is the root of all of the problems we are facing today. Banditry, kidnapping, terrorism, all these are offshoots of farmer-herder conflict. And I want to use this opportunity to tell you that Usman University, through Center for Peace Studies and Center for Agricultural and Pastoral Research in collaboration with the Nigerian Society for Grassland Research and Development is trying to organize a farmer harder conference, national conference on farmer harder relations. We don't say conflicts. I'm sure His Excellency knows. We say relations, but in reality it is a conflict. Farmer harder conflict. Now, what's in this opportunity? To tell this august occasion that probably in February, in January or February, this conference is coming up. And we need your buy-in. We need your buy-in. This conference has been accepted by the National Security Advisor, by Mr. President, through the Special Advisor, Livestock Improvement. A lot of states have got into this. His Eminence Sokoto has given us 100%. We are canvassing for support for all of our emirs, all of our district heads, and especially the 19 frontline northern states of this country. We are waiting for a meeting that will take place in September 16th, so in October 16th. The Northern Communal Forum is going to meet, and the chairman of that forum is going to help us set the date, the appropriate date for this conference. So in principle, I'm inviting all of you to that conference. It's not going to be an academic conference. It's not going to be simply a presentation of papers. No, it's going to be a conference such as this, which will need a lot of follow-up in order to actualize the deliberations that will take place during the conference. I'm being pursued by the MC. Maybe I can call it a day. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, sir.